All right, man. Let's check out the Engle E646 from BRAINWORX and Plugin Alliance. This amp is awesome. This is one of the best sounding physically modeled amps, plugins that I've heard. It is so realistic, and that's really thanks to BRAINWORX recording chains that they use instead of a different speaker, different microphone. You have these recording chains, which we're going to get into. Now, this video is not really going to feature the sound so much as this is more about the the actual features of the amp. There'll be different videos for sounds and whatnot. So let's go ahead and jump right in here and see what you get with this Engle E646 VS plugin. All right, and by the way, I have the stereo maker on right now, which I like to use whenever I'm playing guitar. Gives you that sort of double track sound whenever you're just playing without actually having to go through and double track, because of course I can't double track while I'm just playing here. So with a bypass. Right. Great plugin. Love this plugin. All right. So we just have that on for now. Let's go through the features here of the Engle. So you'll see it looks kind of complicated, but it's not really that complicated. We have clean gain 1, crunch gain 2, then our lead gain 3, lead gain 4, and then of course our parameters, our bass, our middle, treble, clean, treble, crunch, volume 1, our crunch volume, our lead volume 3, lead volume 4, and of course parameters for those channels there. So let's go through this real quick here. Start on channel 1. Now we can use these arrows here, these controls, just like on the real amp, to change what channel we're using. So we have 4 different channels, or you can also click. I just prefer to click. It's just much easier. You can just click, and right now we're on channel 1. So I'll adjust the parameters for channel 1 or 2, which are of course across the top here. So very clean, right? Turn it up or down, just like any other volume control. Turn the clean gain down. If we want to go to channel 2, great sound there. Turn down that. Right. Go to channel crunch gain. Then we have volume controls for each of these. So you can switch right back and forth without having to adjust just one knob. We also have the master A and master B, so you can set up a different level and maybe have this on a foot switch or something. So if it's on A, over to B, a bit louder, of course. All right, so we have presence and our depth punch. We'll get to that once we get to 3 and 4, but that's just a real quick look at your first 2 channels. You can get very clean sounds or just sort of crunchy sounds on your first 2 channels there, and then whenever you combine that with the great delay, I mean, you can get some great tones real quick here. Turn this up a bit. So we're on channel 1. Great sound there. Of course, same thing for 2. Take your treble crunch up. Just sounds great. But what do you say we move on to channel 3? You're going to hear a huge difference in gain as soon as we hit 3. Now 3 and 4 are both extremely high gain channels. Let me switch my pickup there. So here we're on 3, and of course for channels 3 and 4, we have our bass, our middle, we have middle voice, treble, and of course our lead volume 3 and lead volume 4. So we have different volume settings for everything. So that's why it looks a bit cluttered, but once you understand, these are just separate settings for each channel that we have. So you can really set a lot of things up in different ways and then just switch, you know, and everything will be set up for you instead of having to, renegotiate all of your, parameters and volume settings and whatnot. All right, so now we're on 3. Just a real quick demo of this. That's metal right there, man. Let's turn the delay off for now. By the way, all of our parameters, we can use our mouse scroll wheel to quickly adjust those. Okay. And for anything that has an input, you can of course double click and just type in a value. You can go down to the 8th string there. The 9th string. Clear, crisp, great attack there, great aggression. Right there on channel 3. Of course, we have different lead gain settings for 3 and 4. Let's head over to 4. It's going to be a little bit more compressed, you'll hear. So 3, and then 4. Right. Three's a little bit, just voiced a little bit differently. So you go back and forth. Don't think you need to use channel 4 if you're, chugging away at metal. You can use channel 3 as well. Either one, 3 or 4. All right. And you probably noticed we get lights on each of our channels, depending on what's selected there. You see over here for the volume control, so you know exactly where you are. And then we have our middle voiced setting here for channels 3 and 4. You can turn that on or off, and that's for this knob here. And this is different from your mid knob. Okay, this is going to change the way the mids are voiced. Comes in very handy, not just for lead playing, but also for just chugging away. So it's off right now. As soon as I turn it on, you're going to hear a huge difference. Right? Turn it off. And of course, there is a volume difference. We could always compensate for that. Turn it back on. Turn this down a bit. I mean, that already sounds, that just sounds like metal, man. Of course, you can adjust that and adjust your other mid, your mid parameter there. Turn my guitar back up. Turn that one down. Turn this over here up. Just wanted to go through that real quick. Again, this is not really about the sounds. We'll have, different demos for that. But you have, your different lead volumes for each of your different channels, your different gain settings over here. And then we have presence, which hopefully you know what presence is. And then you have depth punch. Depth and punch can bring in some of that low end. Maybe you don't want so much bass. Maybe it's a bit flubby for whatever reason. You can turn that down and get a bit of that depth and punch there. That's the 8th string, by the way. Versus turning that down. So it's a different control than bass, okay? Depth and punch. You can just kind of play around with all of your parameters, get whatever you like, and you're good to go. So I believe that is the front panel. Of course, you have your standby or power button there, or you can, of course, always just bypass it. You can also turn it off right there. A lot of places to turn things on and off. So that is the front panel. Again, it looks confusing at first, but it's not confusing at all. Of course, you have your master A and B, which we already showed previously, but if you want to hear it again, it's on master A now. So just a quick power chord. And then switch it over to B. Of course, it's louder, so you can set that up. Maybe for one for your rhythm, one for your solos, and what have you. Okay. You could use that in conjunction with maybe switch to channel 1 and then switch that to B. You have a bunch of different configurations going on. And before we dig into the effects rack here, we'll go through this top panel. Now, depending on if you have this as a VST or AU or AAX here in Pro Tools, your presets will be in a different area. Sometimes they're over here or over here. For Pro Tools, they're right up here. So it comes with a bunch of presets, and each of these presets actually has 4 different snapshots. So if I choose one here, it's actually going to probably be too loud. Let me turn that down. Turn it down a little more, actually. Right, we can go through this A, B, C, and D. That gets us different settings. That's different settings. And that's different settings, A, B, C, and D, okay? Different settings for each of these. So really, for all of the presets that are included, you have 4 different things to go through for each master preset. Okay, and that comes into play whenever you're making your own presets. If you happen to set something up, we'll just say I set something up here, and I like this, but for the next preset I want in sort of like the set, I want these same settings. Very easy, just copy this one, go to B, I'll paste that in. So now we'll have the same settings, come to the effects rack, turn on the delay, and maybe I wanted maybe I wanted it to be on the B volume there for some reason, a little bit higher, and there we go. Then we can just switch back and forth real quickly between those two, or up to 4 different ones for each master preset. Okay. You also have your forward and backwards buttons, or your undo and redo buttons. So you can undo several steps and redo, of course. So you can get just that perfect sound there, and you can always reset. All right. Let me go back to here and pull this down. A lot of these presets have a lot of bass in them and a lot of gain. I don't like that much gain. I don't like that much bass. Not with a 9-string guitar. It's going to get way too flubby and messy. And we'll get to this here in a minute. Make sure this is good. Not great. Just use our scroll wheel there. Pull that down. Pull this down. Pull this up. And that should be okay. Great sound. All right, so that's the entire front panel and our presets and copy and paste and whatnot. Let's head over to the effects rack. You can, of course, click the word there, or you can just click on the Engle, and it'll take you right to the effects rack. So in the effects rack, you have a gate. We have our tight filter, our smooth filter, delay, input gain. So let's go through these here. Of course, it includes a gate, which is on right now. If it wasn't on, you're hearing all of that noise. If you're playing, it's just going to sit there playing out. So you can adjust your threshold. Let me turn it on. Adjust your threshold for whenever the sound should cut off there, whenever the gate should kick in. And then you have a range control, which is great because maybe you don't want to just clamp down, 100 dB there. Maybe I just want that to be a little bit, say 23. Okay. So it's going to sound different the way it clamps down. That's different than if I had the range all the way up. You see, just shut off completely right there. So again, take the threshold up, cuts it off, and then the range, pull this back down on how much you want that to be dimmed. It's a really, really great gate. It works great for, all kinds of metal, whether it's really palm mute heavy, like gent, which is the popular term for it today. Of course, we usually just call it metal, but all right. Basically what these are a high pass and low pass filter. Just a quick visual explanation there. So that would be your tight, the low end, cutting out some of that low end. And then this would be the smooth, the top and the low pass filter. With these, we have off, pre, or post. What that means is off is obviously off. Pre is going to be the sound of your guitar before it hits the amplifier, and post is going to be after the amplifier. And we'll demo that real quick. And that's the same thing for a smooth, by the way, but we'll just demo this here. So obviously with it off, we'll just pull this up to say 141, and then we'll just, right? If I put this on pre, you don't hear a lot there, but you'll really hear it when I hit this 9th string. If I turn that off again, hear that? You instantly hear it. That may be way too much low end for you. So putting that on pre helps to tighten that up. But we keep the attack. It's actually a little bit too high for what I actually use, I probably use somewhere around 80 to 100 or so. It keeps it, you know, just a bit tighter. Sometimes you might use like a green screamer, you know, a pedal in front of your amp with the distortion really, really low. And that pedal is very, very good at tightening up that low end. You know, same thing for a high pass filter. That's basically what this is here. So it's great to have that included. Now, to really show this off, if I put this on 3K, that's the 8th string, by the way, and it's on pre, it's going to sound radically different if it's on post, right? Because now it's post our you know, our amp there. Put that back on pre, then it's just affecting the guitar, and that's being fed into the amp. That's obviously way too much, and then off. All right, so that's how that works. Quick explanation of that. And our smooth works the same way, just the opposite. The reason why you want to use the smooth would probably be because of sometimes in amp sims you have that really, really high fizzy, horrible top end. Now BRAINWORX is great for not having that, you know, horrible, you know, harsh top end already, but they have this smooth filter in there that will let you dial that out. Now for the smooth, I like it on post most of the time. If it's on pre, then again, that's really just affecting what's coming into the amp. You might want to use it if your pickups are outputting too much treble, you know, too much high end. You might want to put it on pre, but I would usually put it on post and dial out just a bit, not a whole lot, just to tame some of those harsh, you know, the top end there. So if we go really extreme with it, you'll hear exactly what's happening. See, that's way too much because we're losing attack. That's a great sound right there. So you can always play around with those too. It's great to have those right in here. On to the delay, which we already heard a little bit of. Turn that on or off. You can tap the time that you want, or of course adjust it, or, you know, double click and input it, or use your mouse wheel, your scroll wheel. There, once you get something set, maybe you want to double that or half it. You can just keep clicking those. And of course you have your host BPM is linked to that, which is 120. And you can also just click in here. Maybe I want half or quarter or an eighth. You can set that up real quick just by clicking there. Let me put this back down to around 400. That usually works good here. And of course we have mix, feedback, and lo-fi. Lo-fi will give you some of that distortion sound. It sounds really good. Don't think of it as distortion like we're getting with our gain. It's a little bit different than that. Of course, the feedback control for how much feedback you want. So let's hear this. Again, I'll pull the mix up a little bit. I'll stay on channel 4 for now. Actually, let me go to channel 3. Turn that down a bit. Change my pickup. Hear that delay? Sounds great. Great, man, great. I love, you know, using this delay. You can just load up a, you know, load up this plugin, pop your delay on. You can solo away all day long. Sounds great. Sounds great, of course, on channel 2, channel 1 as well. Can even jack that up more if I want. More lo-fi. All the way down to the 9. All right, so that's the pretty awesome delay that's included. Down to our input gain, that's pretty self-explanatory. If you really want to drive the input of the amp, you can adjust this. If you're not outputting enough from your pickups, or if you're outputting too much, you can adjust that. You'll probably leave it on 0 most of the time, but just as an example, I can push this way up here. It's gonna sound bad. I'm just driving it too much. All right, but you have the input gain control there. Alt click that, we can bypass our preamp and our power amp. So this is great for effects, or if you have you know, another amp running into this or whatever you want to do, you can bypass those. Bypass the preamp, so just the power amp's on now. All right. Now just the preamp on, turn the power amp off. Sounds awful. But you can mess around with that for effects, or, you know, again, if you're running maybe a real amp into this, or using a different amp sim and you want to use that preamp into here, or power amp or whatever. Power soak is a thing you'll use in the real world. Whenever you set up your parameters, they're of course going to sound different for, you know, a real tube guitar amp based on, say, what the master is and what all of your parameters are. And that may end up being too loud for the room or too loud to record with. And that's where the power soak comes in. So you can bring down that overall volume, the overall output, but you can keep the same sound, because, you know, a guitar amp with the master way up and the power soak down is going to sound way different than the power soak basically off and the master way down. It's going to sound radically different. If I turn this up, it's going to be way too loud, but turn the power soak down. You can just mess around with that and get exactly what you want. There, you probably won't be using extreme examples or extreme settings, but that's what that is. You can kind of think of it as a master, like a master output for everything, but that's what the power soak is for. So you can set up your sound exactly how you want it, and then you can adjust the overall level without really affecting that tone and having to, you know, turn down your master. And then we get on to the recording chains. Now this is what makes the BRAINWORX amps sound so good. You'll notice there's not a cabinet here to change. There's not a microphone that we're changing and moving around. Instead, what they do is model entire chains. So the advanced impulse response technology. And this comes with a ton of different chains, real live recording chains that have been used and that they use, and they sound absolutely amazing. You see there's tons of different cabinets, EQs already on here. So like this here, for example, our Pro XVS cab. This has 3 SM57s on it there, MD421. I'll probably have to turn that down a bit. Great. And obviously the cabinet and the microphones are going to make a huge difference to your sound. So basically, whenever you load this up, set something up with whatever cabinet recording chain it's on, set something up, and then start going through your cabinets to get the sound exactly how you want it, because these are radically different. We can use our plus and minus button to scroll through these. That's a great one. Not bad. A bunch of different sounds included in here. Here's 5 microphones. Awesome. But because there are so many recording chains to go through, it might be a bit cumbersome to go through those manually. So that's why they have this auto button here. And you can use your drop down here to choose 1 bar to 8 bar. So that's basically the time it's going to take to switch automatically between your recording chains. Now I don't have to be playing back, but you can be playing back in your DAW if you want to. As soon as I hit auto there, it's going to start cycling these. So you can just play along. And whenever you come to a rig that you like, recording chain that you like, you just hit that auto button again to stop. Okay, so we like that one. Just hit auto, that stops. Of course, you may have to go, forward or backwards one or two to get the one that you wanted, but that's how that works. Again, it works really well too whenever you're playing back. So we have a drum track loaded here. I'm just playing back. I'll just go ahead and hit auto here and play back. Ah, that one there. Hit auto right there to stop that. Stop here. Go back one. Awesome. All right, so that's how all of that works, and it's a really easy way to, you know, go through all of your recording chains, and they all sound, you know, they all sound great, and they're radically different. A couple that I really like are the Secret Setup A and then Secret Setup B. These sound really, really good. I mean, that's pretty much a completely done metal guitar sound right there. Secret Setup B. All right, really cool stuff there. So that is the Engl E646 VS physically modeled tube guitar amp from Plug-in Alliance and BrainWorX, one of the best amp simulators out there. It's extremely realistic. Tons of features. It sounds great. I mean, so many different sounds you can get out of this, from those sparkling cleans all the way up to those raging guitars. It's extremely accurate. I mean, it sounds just like the amp. It sounds great for 6-string guitar, 7, 8, 9, and if you want to go 10, it probably sounds great for 10 too. I haven't tried it with 10, but it sounds great with 9. So head over to Plug-in Alliance to check out this absolutely brutal guitar amp, the Engl E646 VS.